What's going on, chat? Welcome back to the Hooded podcast. Hey. If you're watching this on the replay, make sure you go ahead and smash that subscribe button. No matter where you're watching from, make sure you are liking, sharing, and subscribing because this is a free podcast. And if you like, share, and subscribe, that's how I know you support the message and you are picking up what we put down. And that helps us reach more like-minded people and it just helps us out. And it's free, so why not? This is a positive space, positive vibes only. I am your host, Dr. Chiefess Sunflower. If you're watching on TikTok, our daily goal is 1,000 hearts. Yesterday we met a milestone. We went to 33,000, 35,000 hearts, so that was pretty lit. So today we just still always have that 1K goal just to help us, bully the algorithms, if you know what I'm saying, because the messages that we talk about here are not the norm, but we still must get the message out. And as you can see from the title of this live, today we will be discussing why he who controls the knowledge really controls everything. I mean, they control everything. And there's one guy in history who they have silenced, but it's who America gets the name from. So it can get a little sticky when talking about it. But we're going to dive into a journal. So this is going to be kind of like a study session, part one. And we're not going to do all of it in this session, but today you will leave with some good information and be closer to, unraveling the many things there is to unravel when it comes to identity theft, discoverment, reclassification, the Niji, the Marianians, all of these different terms. So we're going to have a clearer perspective of history. And, I'm a historic fan. I love history. I've fallen in love with it lately. And it's a big part of the Hood to Hooded podcast because I feel like it just ties with who we are. So we're going to dive in just a second. I'm just trying to make sure everybody can hear me. Tap those hearts if you can hear me. Let me know where you're watching from. Let me know how y'all feeling today. Are you in good spirits? Did you have a good day? And we're going to get started. Alright, we're going to get started. So before we get started, we got to get the positive vibes flowing before we get into this deep, heavy history. Like I said, today is kind of like part one of this because we're going to be reading from a journal from someone who named America. Well, who history says helped name America. But we still digging through the crates with the history. So we're going to see what we find tonight. And I think it's going to be pretty shocking. Okay? So I just want to know. Let me see if my...
Hi, how are you?
Hi, how are you? Thank you for liking the live. Thank you for liking the live. Hey. Thank you for liking the live. So let's get the positive juices flowing with a little song.
Dr. Sean. Dr. Sean is always live. Come hang with
and true. Telling our story, yeah, this is proof. History talking, wisdom revived. This ain't just a lie, this is life. Yes, Lord, I feel it. Talk to him all the way live. All the way live. Hang with the tribe. Hang with the tribe. Hood to hood. Hood to hood. We survive. We survive. Yeah, yeah, yeah. All the way live. All the way live. Hang with the tribe. Hang with the tribe. Hood to hood. We survive. We survive. Always live. Always live. Try. We rise. Try. Yeah.
Keep it going, don't stop. Hey, hey, keep it going, don't stop.
Yeah.
Keep it going, don't stop, y'all. So we finna dive in, we live, and I think my sound is pretty good. Let me see something else. Let's check one more thing. Alright. Nightbot is active, so let's dive in. What's going on, love? Loves me. How you feeling? How you feeling? How you feeling? How you feeling? How was your day? I'm good. I'm so happy to hear that. My day was pretty good as well. Alright, so today we're going to talk about, he who controls the history really controls our identity. And really this segment is about before, Christopher Columbus, and that's who America highlights. We want to know, who was Amerigo Vespucci? Who was he really? Right? And I think we're going to find a lot out tonight. And TikTok, I'm going to invite you guys to read the journal as well. I'm gonna turn the camera over so you can see. So this is gonna be like a little study, I don't have no time limit, but we're not gonna do all of the reading tonight. We're just gonna tap on like 2 to 3 pages. I feel like that's enough to get us started, because I kind of already skimmed the pages. And yeah, we're gonna dive in. So before we read these words, I need you guys, OCO to the Niji out there, sending love to the ancestors, sending love to all the positive people out there. Before we read these words, I need you to understand who wrote them, right? Because history isn't just about events, it's about who gets to document them and who didn't. And the thing about our history is we had a lot of oral history where we tell each other what happened. We wrote it down, we just talked about it. But whenever you prevent a nation from talking about their history, and you come in and write your own perspective and your own history, this misleads people. This is why people are misled today, and people are reclassified, and it was done without their consent under a government called the United States. Alright? So tonight we're stepping into the mind of the man whose name reshaped the entire hemisphere. So we think, because everything they did was always kind of like stealing and copying. So, but this is what history is telling us so far as we dig into history. And I like to go to the actual journal to see what the hell was going on. So that's what we're going to do tonight. So we're not talking about Christopher Columbus, because y'all know I hate his ass. I hate his ass. Okay? Let's just pause right there. But what we're going to read tonight, yeah, I think it's going to set the tone as we continue to grow and learn. I was trying to find something for my disdain for Christopher Columbus, but we're gonna keep it moving. I can't find nothing. Anywho, so who was Amerigo Vespucci? He was not Christopher Columbus, but he did travel with him sometimes. He was born in 1454. So think about this, 1454. Timelines are very important on this podcast because we always want to go back and understand what happened in history because it gives you a different eye. Thank you, Love Loves Me, for tapping those hearts. All right. So, Vespucci, Amerigo Vespucci, it sounds like America, right? He was a merchant, a navigator, a map maker. He worked for the powerful Medici family, a financial elite family in Europe, of course, right? Vespucci was not a random explorer. He was connected to money, power, and information systems. So this is 1454. If we want to put this into perspective, this is before. So he was born, at a time before America was colonized, aka Turtle Island was colonized. He was born before they came over here and committed all type of atrocities. But during this time, I think this is when the Papal Bulls was popping. Let me just make sure, because we gotta always keep in mind what's going on during this time. So the Papal Bulls is when the Vatican, the Christian church, sent a order to their people in the church to go and seize land from around the world and to control the souls of anybody who wasn't a white male Christian prince or a white person or a YT person, we should say, I guess. But Papal Bulls have been used since at least the 6th century, but the ones that the church said go and seize the land from the indigenous people was in the 15th century, which is the 1400s, right? And they have so many Papal Bulls, and if you don't know what a Papal Bull, this is like a message sent out from the popes of the Vatican. That's what they call them, Papal Bulls. And a lot of these Papal Bulls were orders to go and enslave people, basically, according to God, to make them servants under YT people according to God. That's what the Papal Bulls were. So during this time that Vespucci was born, he was during the time where they were going out and actually acting on these Papal Bulls. So there was so many Papal Bulls, and I'm just trying to find the time of the most famous ones that had something to do with the Niji, the Amerindians, we call them the Hebrew. There's so many names going around, but the indigenous autochthonous people of Turtle Island is what we're going to say right now, right? So I'm just trying to get the date here. So the Papal Bulls that helped colonize this land, it says the Papal Bulls issued by Pope Alexander the Sixth, particularly the Inter Caetera and its supplement Dunum Sequidem, played a crucial role in the colonization of America. Right? Think about it. The Papal Bulls came from the Pope, so that over there, these are people who colonized over there, and they were trying to colonize the world. So they created the Bible, they said, and this is not coming from me, this is just facts and history. They created the Bible to have complete doctrine over the world so that their doctrine could travel across the world, and they can convert everyone to be a Christian and under their leadership, because they felt like they was ordained by God to control the world. This is what they thought. It's kind of crazy, but this is just how they thought. This is what they was doing. So it said the Papal Bulls, these people who just making up shit, said granted Spain and Portugal the exclusive rights to lands west and south of the specified line. Who told y'all that? Let me stay focused. Which included the newly discovered territories. So they said they discovered some territories, but what we're going to read tonight going to let you know what they truly discovered, and it's going to blow your fucking mind, right? I just want to give y'all the context. So the Intercaterra, these things that said they can go and seize land from around the world, which is why Christopher Columbus and his homies was on one, which is why these people from Europe was always on one trying to seize and unalive people, because they said God told them to do that. Because if you didn't convert to their Christianity, then they had the right from God to do these atrocious things, right? So the Intercaterra Bull was issued May the 4th, 1493. Remember, this is right around the time Columbus did his voyage, because they was like, yeah, you can go and do what you was going to do, right? Because they had already been doing this for hundreds of years at this point, because they were trying to colonize the entire world. Constantine in 330 CE, when he legalized Christianity, he wanted to colonize the entire world. That was the goal. So from 300 CE or zero, whenever they tried to restart time, all the way up until 1493, they were colonizing the world, and they finally got to a point where they said, "Hey, that land over there, Turtle Island, when you call it South America, this whole continent is our target now." And you're going to see how this became a target with actual documents from this time. Now, this is why I love history, because I can go back to a place in my mind and just be like, wow, I can't believe they wrote this shit. Like, what the hell? So that's why I'm giving you the timeline with the doctrine of discovery. You know, the Intercaterra, these papal bulls, they're very important to where we're going with Amerigo Vespucci, because he came from this time period, right? When they were telling people, it said the doctrine of discovery articulated in these papal bulls justified. Now I want y'all to listen to this part. Just pay very close attention to this part. It said the papal bulls justified the seizure. So when you think about they're coming over here, unaliving, doing enslavement of the Niji over here, the melanated people, reclassifying them to African American, taking their land, giving all of these other immigrants their land, from the Persians, we know who they are, to everybody, to all these different countries, France, Russia, Germany, Netherlands, Portugal, all of these different places, Europe, Britain, all of these different places who colonized the entire world. These are the people who were going out and committing these atrocious acts of genocide in every form to indigenous nations. Now, these papal bulls, remember, came from their pope. The papal bull issued by Pope Alexander VI. This is a fucking pope from the Vatican. I don't know why they don't like to talk about their history too much, but this was a pope from the Catholic Church. This is somebody from the Christian ministry sending out something that's saying you can seize. This is what it said now. The doctrine of discovery articulated in these papal bulls justified the seizure of non-Christian lands. So they had a Christian military. They had Christian military. And it said that it justified the seizure of non-Christian lands and the enslavement of indigenous people. So who the hell was enslaved over here? The indigenous people, directly from the papal bull, right? The Intercaterra and its supplements have been foundational documents in the legal and political framework of European expansion and the colonization of the Americas. This is why I love me some history. Thank y'all for, sharing the live. And we already met our goal of 1K hearts. I appreciate y'all. So we're going to continue on. So you see what time period we in. This is 1493. But we're not talking about the papal bulls really. But this is what gave these people. Good evening, Dr. Chief the Sunflower. What's going on, Tea Time Beauty? How you feeling? How you feeling? How you feeling? How was your day? I'm feeling rested today, honestly. That's so good. Yeah, I rested all day today. I almost didn't come live, but I have a commitment to my tribe, so good to see you too. So that's why I'm here, because I'm on a mission, There's an urgency to wake the tribe up. It's an urgency to connect the truth and, true history to our spirit, and to just reconnect the spirit. So this is why I'm here, and I'm loving learning all of this stuff and reading, because y'all already know what Frederick Douglass said. Knowledge makes us unfit to be slaves. So these people were trying to enslave us, so we gotta break these generational curses. So let's carry on. Thank you, Tea Time Beauty. Hey. All right, so we in 1493 with the Intercatera, these papal bulls coming from these popes, right? So let's go back to our topic for right now. So we talk about Vespucci. He was born in 1454 in Florence, Italy. So he was an Italian, okay? He was a merchant, a navigator, and a map maker, and worked for the powerful Medici family. Now, he wasn't just a random explorer. He was into money. Vespucci we're talking about. I really should pull up his picture, and I probably will. But he came from strategy. He later moved to Spain to work with Seville, a major hub for exploration logistics. So exploration logistics meaning they were going around and seizing land, colonizing land, stealing land from people who weren't Christian. Now, Vespucci it was believed that he went on 2 to 4 voyages from 1497. So remember those papal bulls that told the Vatican and the Christian, the Catholic people told that they can go and seize land. That was 1493. He did his voyage a little after Columbus in 1497, and some say 1504, but it's no clear evidence, right? He explored South America, Brazil, and possibly parts of the Caribbean. So this continent over here is where he came. So Columbus believed that he reached Asia, which I don't know how they think that, because he told you who the people he saw. Melanated people, beautiful, handsome people is what he called them. Vespucci said this is not Asia, this is a new world. So they was calling our land a new world because it was new to them. And even when you go into the Christopher Columbus journals, he talks like, oh, it was so many fruits and things and animals. And he was like, I don't know their name. I wish I could know their name. He wrote about that in his first journal, Christopher Columbus. But when Vespucci came in 1497, he said something that was quite different from what the people before him said. And we're going to go in and explore that tonight. We're just getting the context down right now. So Vespucci was writing letters. He was describing the land, the people, the environment, the stars. And these letters were printed, translated, and circulated in Europe. Now, one thing we got to be aware of is he was also telling some lies in his letters. And you know, whenever you're reading a letter from a colonizer, you kind of have to read between the lines. So tonight we're going to read between the lines, but you can always see the truth. It's going to stick out like a sore thumb. Right? So this wasn't a journal. This was some type of mass media that he was doing. So we're going to have a glimpse into that today. In 1507, a German cartographer named Martin, I don't know if I'm going to say this right, Waldseemüller, created a world map. And he used Vespucci's account to create the world map. He said the land should be named after Amerigo Vespucci. And he said it was going to be called America. Now, this seems like it could be stolen, but right now, this is what they're saying. So they named the entire hemisphere after this guy, Amerigo, and you're going to see why. Even though it wasn't their land, but because they seized it and they claimed they discovered it and all this BS, they wanted to name stuff. One thing you're going to realize about colonization, one thing that is a key to colonization is classification. Reclassifying things because they don't know what it was really called, so they have to call it something. And many times they call it things that aren't the original name, but because we're tracking history, this helps us track ourselves. I hope that makes sense. So today there's still a lot of debate, there's still a lot of controversy about did Vespucci exaggerate his journey, which it says that he did exaggerate a lot of things. I have my battery dying already. It was charged. He did exaggerate a lot of things in his journey, so we're gonna do a little studying into his journal tonight. It was saying, we just gotta have intuition when you're studying history, because you're looking at this through a colonizer's lens. They're gonna use the European standards. They're gonna say something is primitive when it's more advanced than what they know, but because they don't understand it, they're always going to misunderstand what they see, choose to emphasize certain things, tell certain little bitty lies, and through that you can still see some type of truth. So we're not going to prolong it anymore. I'm going to pull up the journal. We're going to go to the first page that I think is super, super important for us to look at tonight. So TikTok, I'm going to turn y'all around and let's dive in. My glass is a little blurry, so I can't really see. So let me move y'all over here. Why it's not turning around? Hold on. And we'll put y'all right there. It's kind of messing up my camera. Hold on. Let me move this camera here. Okay, I think that's good. I think y'all can kind of see. I'll keep it there. Yes. So we're going to go to our presentation. Now, I hope everyone can see. This is off of archive.org. We're going to stroll. So this is the journal. It's called The Letters of Amerigo Vespucci and Other Documents Illustrative of His Career. And this is just part 1. So this is like one of the first pages, and they translated this. So we're going to stroll. And this is on the Internet Archive. Amerigo Vespucci, 1541 to 1512. It says work issued by the Booklurat Society, The Letters of Amerigo Vespucci. Alright. And other documents illustrative of his career. And you know, this is from London, of course. You got to go kind of far. I don't think y'all can really see it. Maybe I'll move y'all back a little bit. It's kind of blurry. Let's see if we can zoom in some. I'll read what's going on. So we're going to keep going. And it said, okay, let's skip this page too. Y'all get the point. But here, this is the, hold on. Let me fix the screen, y'all. Alright, let's fix this screen as well, in case you're watching on YouTube. Oh no, what happened? Dang, what happened to my... Oh man, what did I do? Okay. I'm coming, y'all. I'm having a little technical difficulty here. No. Alright, if you're watching on Instagram, I'm sorry. I messed up the link some kind of way. You are so tech savvy. You think so? I love technology. Alright, so I think y'all can see it now. Uh-oh. So let's keep going. We finna read this. Let's keep going. Oh. Alright. So this page right here is talking about the introduction. It tells you what's in this book. It says, Letter of Amerigo Vespucci to a Magnificent Lord. It's going to say his first voyage, second voyage, third voyage, fourth voyage. It has some other letters that he written in here. And you'll even see a letter to Admiral Christopher Columbus to his son in here. Yeah, like right here. And if you keep going down, we're going to get to the introduction. And you'll see this is in the Library of California, University of California. Now, on this first page, I don't this is why this is an introduction, because we don't want to read all of this. I just want to go to page 3. Hold on. Let me see. Why is it? I'm trying to figure out why I can't see the whole page. See, I'm not so tech savvy. I done messed something up. Oh, it's because I zoomed in. Maybe I gotta zoom out some. There we go. Alright, so we're gonna keep going down because it's a lot to read, and I don't want to have y'all here all night because it's a certain part that I want to get to. And maybe it is on the first page. You know what? Let's go back up, because it's bad to skip stuff. So it says, let's read the beginning. The account of the alleged voyage of Amerigo Vespucci in 1497 to 98 was written for that worthy's own countrymen and for foreigners who live at a distance from the peninsula. When after some years the story reached Spain in print, men were still alive who would have known whether any such voyage had ever been made. Among them was the able and impartial historian Las Casas, who considered that the story was false and disproved it from internal evidence. The authority of Las Casas is alone conclusive. Modern investigators, see, this is just a lot of them. This is an introduction. We're going to skip all of this. Go. Because it's just talking about, this isn't really the letter. This is just the introduction. So let's keep strolling. I promise we're going somewhere, guys. They was just saying they didn't know if Vespucci was telling the truth because he was such a fibber. But you'll see in his letter that you can really learn a lot. Now we're going to keep going. So it was talking here how they sent 5 ships. So this area right here says the expedition in which Vespucci sailed was organized and fitted out by Alonso de Ojeda in 1499. Columbus, having discovered the island of Trinidad in the mainland of South America on the 31st of July 1498, arrived at San Domingo at the end of August. In October, he sent 5 ships to Spain in the news of the discovery. Now, I keep saying this because they're talking about they discovering something, but we're going to get to what they discovered. And it wasn't an empty land. We're going to keep going because we don't want to be here all night. We're just going to keep going because I'm trying to find a certain area. Let's keep going. So they wrote so much in here. Like, if you want to read all of this, you can go and pull it up on archive.org. Just put in, I think, Amerigo Vespucci. And it's called The Letters of Amerigo Vespucci and Other Documents Illustrative of His Careers. Here it's talking about, let's read this little part. It says, on leaving the coast, Ojeda proceeded to Hispaniola, where he behaved in the outrageous manner described by Las Casas, remaining 2 months and 17 days from September 5th, 1499 to November 22nd, finally visiting some islands, probably the Bahamas, and carrying off 200 natives as slaves. Y'all see that? They was carrying the people who was actually there as slaves. They wasn't bringing them there. They were taking them from there. Do y'all see that? Okay. So this is why this is important to go back and read, because they tell you what the hell they did. They took 200 natives as slaves, and they would take these people back to the king and queen and take them over to Europe and try to get them to, teach them so they can come back and learn more. So they were basically doing trafficking back then, right? And that's what that is. Isn't that what they say? 200 natives as slaves. And it didn't matter if it was a child, woman, or man. They were taking anybody. Okay? Please. Please know that. Now we're going to keep going because it's just talking. And I'm trying to get to a very important part because I kind of breezed through this already. And we're going to get to the letter eventually, but this is just showing you what's all in here. You know? And he just going. It's so long. The introduction is like, dang, why is it so long? Let's keep going. Eventually, I promise y'all we're going to get to his first letter. Okay, I think this is is this what I was, okay, let's read this part because it's starting to get to the part where we really want to read. It says, the statement made by Vespucci respecting his alleged first voyage is as follows. Is it showing up? Okay, the statement made by Vespucci respecting his alleged voyage is as follows. He says that an expedition of discovery was sent by the king and consisting of 4 ships, and that the king chose him to go with it. He does not mention the name of the commander of the expedition nor any of the captains or pilots, but he asserts that he was away 18 months and that he discovered a great extent of mainland and an infinite number of islands. The ships he alleges sailed from Cadiz on the 10th of May, 1497, and proceeded to the Grand Canary, which he says is... And then now they sailing on the water to get to this land. You know, and then it's talking about he's sailing. Now, I think, is this the place? Oh, yeah, I think this is where we trying to go right here. Is this it right here? Alright, let's keep going. We get in there. Keep going. Because they just talking. This is just a summary, so this... We're going to keep going, y'all. Bear with me. We're going to get there. It's just, we on page like 42 right now. Now, next time I will really make sure to just write down which page I want to go to. Is this it? I feel like we're very close. But it's very important. Jeez, they wrote a lot in here. It's talking about, you can see Christopher Columbus all through here. That's what I'm saying. He was so evil. So that's how you know these people, they highlighted Christopher Columbus, but they kind of hid this guy's journals. They don't really talk about it as much because he was really kind of telling what he saw. You know? Is this it? I think they still on the water at this point because it's talking about leagues and stuff. Jeez. They still talking. Jeez. I didn't realize I strolled through so much last night. Because I kind of read a lot of this last night, so I know when I get to what I'm looking for. Alright, anywho, let's start here. Alright? Maybe I missed the page that I was looking for. But let's start right here. It says, letter of Amerigo Vespucci on the islands newly discovered in his 4 voyages. First voyage of Amerigo Vespucci. He says, magnificent Lord, I submit humble reference to you and offer due recommendation. It may be that your magnificence will be astonished at my temerity that I should dare so absurdly to write the present long letter to your magnificent, knowing that your magnificent is constantly occupied in the high councils and affairs touching the lofty republic, And I may be considered not only presumptuous, but also idle in writing things not convenient to your condition nor agreeable, and written in a barbarous style. But I have confidence in your virtues and the merit of my writing. And he says, which is touching things never before written upon either by ancient or modern writers, as will be seen, I may be excused by your magnificence. The principal thing that moved me to write to you was the request of the bearer, whose name is Benvenuti, our Florentine, who is very much, our Florentine, I'm right here, who is very much the servant of your magnificence. As he tells me, and a great friend of mine, he finding himself here in the city of Lisbon, requesting me to give an account to your magnificent of the things by me seen in different parts of the world. Okay? It says, during the 4 voyages that I have made to discover new lands, 2 by order of the Catholic King Ferdinand. Y'all know King Ferdinand was from Christopher Columbus' journal. That's who he was writing in Season Lands for. By the great gulf of the ocean sea towards the west, and other 2 by order of the powerful King Manuel of Portugal towards the south. He assured me that you will be pleased and that I might hope to serve you. It was this that disposed me to do it, being assured that your magnificence would include me in the number of your servants. It says, remembering how in the time of our youth I was your friend, and now your servant, going together to hear the principles of grammar under the good life and doctrine of venerable religious friar of St. Mark, Friar Giorgio Antonio Vespucci, whose counsel and doctrine, if it had pleased God that I had followed, I should have been another man from what I am, as Petrarch says. It says, Quomo do con que sit, I am not ashamed, because I have always taken delight in virtuous things. Yet if these my frivolities are not acceptable to your virtue, I will reflect on what Pliny says to Maecenas. Okay, and then he just going and he just talking. I'm gonna skip a little bit. Let's skip a little bit down. Now this is the page that I was looking for, so maybe I shouldn't skip. I'm gonna go back up and just read it till we get there, because I was trying to rush, but I don't want to rush. So he says, it may be that through your magnificence is continually occupied with public affairs, you may find an hour of leisure during which you can pass a little time in frivolous and amusing things, and so as a change from so many occupations you may read this letter, for you may well turn for a brief space from constant care and assiduous thought concerning public affairs. Right? Now this is the page that's important. I knew I was looking for page 3. I didn't know it was all the way down here. But I finally found the page I was looking for. Okay? So it says, let's make sure y'all can see it. Your magnificence must know that the motive of my coming into this kingdom of Spain was to engage in mercantile pursuits. Because remember, he's from Italy. So he's saying he came from Italy to Spain so that he can engage in exploring the world. He says, and that I was occupied in such business for nearly 4 years, during which I saw and knew various changes of fortune. As these affairs of the commerce are uncertain, a man being at one time at the top of the well, and at another fallen and subject to losses, and as the continual labor that a man is exposed to, who would succeed became evident to me, as well as exposure to dangers and failures. Alright. It said, I decided upon leaving the mercantile career upon entering on one that would be more stable and praiseworthy. I was disposed to see some parts of the world and its wonders. This is the paragraph that is very, very chilling. So this is page 3 of this book. If you want to go get it for yourself, page 3 of the book, you got to stroll down to, really is page 61. Okay. So it says, this is the part that struck me as really odd. It says, time and opportunity offered themselves very conveniently. The King Don Ferdinando of Castile, that's where Christopher Columbus was from, having ordered 4 ships to be dispatched for the discovery of new lands towards the west. He says, I was chosen by His Highness to go in this fleet to help in the discovery. I left the port of Cadiz on the 10th of May, 1497, and we took our way for the great Gulf of the ocean sea, on which voyage I was engaged for 18 months, discovering a great extent of mainland and an infinite number of islands, most of them inhabited. Yeah. How you talking about you discovering a great extent of mainland and islands, but most of them were inhabited? There were people already there. So on my YouTube, on my page, one of the main videos on my page is a video about Brazil and how they have the carnival and they have all those melanated Niji. They have all those melanated ancient people and they just gyrate around them. They use their likeness, kind of how they do at Florida State University, which is the school that I graduated from. They use the Seminoles likeness. They use it with the football teams. They use the likeness of the Indians. They use a likeness all over this continent, but they do not use the respect. They're saying it was inhabited all over. There were people all over, but they still said they discovered these people. You'll notice how they say they discovered humans. Now, if they're coming over here with the papal bulls and they notice that these people are indigenous, they're thinking that they have the right, remember, to seize the land from the non-Christians. These people were not Christians. And we're going to see that later down the discovery in this journal, right? So he says, let's go back. He says, most of the islands were inhabited, of which no mention had been made by ancient writers. Because the ancient writers, well, Christopher Columbus did say he saw beautiful, handsome people. So he did witness he saw people. But when they tell you about this in history class, they say Christopher Columbus discovered America and got you thinking you from Africa when you really from here. I believe because they had not any clear information. It says, if I remember rightly, I have read somewhere that the ocean sea was without inhabitants. Our poet Dante was of this opinion in the 26th chapter of the Inferno, which he treats the death of Ulysses. Now, we're going to keep going on because I read further down and, you know, all this stuff, you can go and read it yourself, but I want to get to another section where he talks about the people they saw. Okay, I think this might be the page right here. Is this the page right here? Let's see what he said. He says, we anchored our ship at a distance of 1.5 leagues from the shore. We got out of the boat and filled with armed men. So they had guns. They had arms. This is what they tell you. You can't bear arms because they came with the arms. It said, we pulled them to shore. Before we arrived, we had seen many men walking along the beach, at which we were much pleased. So they seen the Indians walking on the beach, and they said they were very pleased to see these inhabitants on the beach. Okay. And we found that they were naked and they showed fear of us. They just talking shit. See, this is what a hijack, this is where you got to read between the lines. Who told you they was scared of you, bro? Ain't nobody tell you that. Y'all was coming over here off of the boat on the ocean trying to make a narrative about what you saw and how people felt. This is the part where I say with history, you got to read between the lines. He says, I believe, he don't know, he just making some shit up. I believe because we were dressed in of a different stature. So they saying they look different than we did, right? They all fled to a hill. They fled because they didn't know what the hell you were. You come over here, you don't have no melanin. They like, what the hell is going on? And in spite of all signs of peace and friendship that we made, lies. Y'all didn't make no signs of peace and no friendship because y'all came with arms, bro. How you talking about you making sign of peace when you carrying a weapon? And your buddy Columbus already done trafficked people. You remember earlier they said 200, they took 200 natives as slaves. How you talking about you trying to show signs of peace? Because they were very deceptive. They wanted to show signs of peace so that they can come back later and unalive these people. Right? So he said they would not come to intercourse with us. What the hell? Not what he said. As night was coming on and the ship was anchored in a dangerous place off of an unsheltered coast, we arranged to get under way the next day and go in search of some port or bay where we could make our ship secure. We sailed along the coast, always in sight of land, and the people went along the beach. After 2 days of navigation, we found a very secure place for our ship. And we anchored at a distance of half a league from the land where we saw very many people. And I thought y'all said nobody was over here and you brought people. This is 1400. You pulling up. You never saw this new land, but there was so many people here. It was an ancient land. Y'all trying to make a new land, bro. They said they saw very many people. This thing, they said all the islands were inhabited. You got to wake up and know who you are. They whitewash now, but go watch my video on Brazil and you'll see those Indians that they got. Big Indian chiefs, melanated, darker than my melanin. More potent than my melanin, with feather headdresses. Right in Brazil. Brazil, I shouldn't even say that, but the south part of this continent has more melanated people than the top part of the continent. Most people don't know that because they colonized here, they colonized there. All these countries took different parts. See, the people from Portugal and Spain, they colonized the bottom, the Aztecs, all of those other different indigenous nations. They colonized them, right? And they colonized them and changed the name to Spanish. Does it make sense now? These were Spanish people, Portuguese people. Slave raiders. Okay? I'm gonna have to put y'all on the charger. And I don't know how I'm going to do that. I don't know how I'm gonna put y'all on the charger. But I'm gonna have to put y'all on the charger because my phone is dying. And my phone is dying. She said, yeah. Yeah, let's keep going. I'll try to charge it before it dies. Hopefully it doesn't die. He said, we went on shore in the boats on the same day and 40 men in good order landed. The natives were still shy of us. Of course they were. And we could not give them sufficient confidence to induce them to come and speak with us. I thought y'all said y'all discovered this place. How you talking about natives there? I thought you said you brought people from Africa. Yeah. What are the people you brought over here? If it was already so many people here. Very many people, you say. That day we worked hard with this object by giving them our things, such as bells, looking glasses, and other trifles. That some of them took courage and came to treat us, having established a friendly understanding. How you know that? See how they be making stuff up? Okay. He says, as the night was approaching, we took leave of them and returned on board. Next day at dawn, we saw that there were an immense number of people on the beach and that they had women and children with them. We went ashore and found that they all came laden with their food supplies, and which were such as described in their place. All right. Before we arrived on shore, many of them swam out to receive us at a crossbow shot's distance, for they are great swimmers. It's the reason why you can't swim now, because you was a great swimmer. And they showed us much confidence as if we had been having intercourse with them for a long time. You see how they talking about having intercourse with them and all of this stuff, talking about they greeted them like they was come on now. We were pleased at seeing their feelings of security. Crazy now. Now this is where it get a little crazy. This is where it get a little crazy. I think this is the part that I was getting to. Oh yeah, now this is the part that I need to clip. Clock it. Clock it. Clock that T. Tea time beauty. We about to clock that T. Oh yeah, we about to clock that T. We about to clock that T because we built different.
I'm built different.
We about to clock that T, y'all.
Gotcha, bitch.
I'm ready. Let's clock that T. Okay, she said I'm ready. Well, let's go. This is the page I was waiting for. Talking about the manners and the customs of the Indians. This is what they talking about. Tell me what you find with Vespucci when he was talking about. If you're looking for this in the book, if you go look for it, it's on page 64. It says, they talking. It says, what we knew of their life and customs was that they all go naked, as well as the men as the women without covering anything. No otherwise than as they come out their mother's wombs. Maybe they was there on the beach swimming in their swimsuit. You know, maybe it's because it's so hot they didn't have to put on no clothes to hide them from the sun. Maybe because they already have a natural defense mechanism and a skin that connects them to the nature. That's melanin, right? It says they are of medium stature and well proportioned. The color of their skins inclines to red like the skin of a lion, and I believe that if they were properly cold, he's talking about they would be white like ourselves. Lies, because we know how the Indians look, right? He said they have no hair whatsoever on their bodies, and they have very long hair, especially the women, which beautifies them. They have not very beautiful faces. You see what I'm saying? How you kind of gotta understand what you're reading, because they have long eyelids which make them look like Tartars. They do not have any hairs to grow on their eyebrows, nor lashes, nor any other parts of the head where it is rough and disheveled. We getting somewhere, guys. It says they are very agile in their persons, both walking and running as well as the men and women, and think nothing of running a league or two as we often witness. And in this they have a very great advantage over us Christians. They have a great advantage over us Christians. So they weren't Christians, but if you go down there now, everything is a Christian. It says they swim wonderfully well, and the women better than the men, for they have found and seen them many times 2 leagues at sea without any help whatsoever in swimming. Their arms, talking about their weapons, now this is how you know who the true indigenous American Indians are. It says their weapons are bow and arrows, well made, except that they have no iron, nor any kind of hard metal. Instead, they use the teeth of animals and fish. Bow and arrows, that's the Indians, guys. The Indians, guys. Right? Now, I'm going to show you the people who they're talking about. I'm going to pull up the video that is from Brazil so you can see how the Indians look with the bow and arrows when they do these different parades, so you can see who the people they're talking about. The reason why I say you got to watch what you're reading and know that they have colonized, they have translated this, they are going to try to cover certain things up, but you just got to understand and understand the truth. You got to go back to the pictures, the images, and actually see who they saw, right? But either way, weren't no Christians. Okay? And you can see the bow and arrows. But we're not done yet. So we're going to keep going down. Oh, let's keep, no, you know what, I'm going to keep reading from here because I think it's important. It says, instead of iron, they use teeth of animals or fish or a bit of wood well burnt at the point. They are sure shots, and where they aim, they hit. So they shooting these bow and arrows and hitting your ass. In some places, the women use these bows. They have weapons like lances and hardened by fire and clubs with the knobs very well carved. They wage war among themselves. They just assuming these people just assuming. They don't really know these people, so this is why you got to kind of read this with discernment. Because when they got back over there, remember, this was propaganda for them. They wanted to make it seem like we were savages and beneath them, and of course it's translated, so you got to kind of have discernment. So you got to read it for what it is and see when they trying to like just say stuff that they don't really know. It says they wage war among themselves with people who do not speak their language. Carrying it with great cruelty, giving no quarter if not inflicting greater punishment. It says when they go to war, they take their women with them, not because they fight, but because they carry the provisions in the rear of the men, boy. The women was very important. They carry the provisions in the rear of the men. It says a woman carries a burden on her back which a man would not carry for 30 or 40 leagues, as we have seen many times. They have no leader. How y'all know that? Nor do they march in any order, no one being a captain. So they didn't have no military captains, all this police captains, no people over them. You call that sovereignty. So they was confused back then. They was like, they don't got no leader. They don't got no captain. You know, the woman helped them. They trying to figure out. They just writing what they saw. So remember, this is the lens of a colonizer. So you got to take it for what it is. They making shit up. But they also telling the truth. He says the cause of their wars is not the desire of rule nor to extend the limits of their dominions, but owing to some ancient feud that has arisen among them in former times. How do you know that? Who told you that? This is why sometimes you like, who told you that? If y'all don't have the same language, how you know that's what they were saying? It says, when asked why they made war, they have no answer other than that it is to avenge the death of their ancestors and their fathers. Who told him that? You see what I'm saying? So that's why it said that they didn't understand if his accounts was real, because it has some real to it, and it has some things to it where it's like, is he telling the truth or is he just making this up to make it sound good, right? It says they have neither king nor lord. Now you know this part is true. They didn't have no king or no lord. They was free, sovereign people. They was happy with the land. It says, nor do they obey anyone. Do y'all see that? It says, but live in freedom. Ain't that something? Before they came, they said they don't have no lord. They don't have no king. And they don't obey anyone. They live in freedom. And they didn't like that. They did not like that. Isn't that crazy? It says, having moved themselves to wage war when the enemy have killed or captured any of them, the oldest relation arises and goes preaching through the streets, calling upon his countrymen to come with him to avenge the death of his relation. Thus, he moves them by compassion. They don't know that. They just saying they think that's what's going on. It says, they do not bring men to justice nor punish a crime or a criminal. Y'all see what kind of people we are? They do not bring men to justice nor punish a crime. But they didn't know that. They just didn't see, no prisons. They didn't see no colonizations. They didn't see no land seizures. So they like, damn, they don't have no lord. They don't have no, they free. They not obeying nobody. They not at war. Like, what's going on? They don't have any, it was a peaceful land, guys. It said neither the mother nor father chastised their children. They wasn't aggressive and abusing their children. Like how they came over here and now people are angry, whooping their children. That was not something that was Indian like. We didn't have to do that, you know. But this is the result of colonization, oppression. Now we have anger, depression in the community, mad mothers, mad fathers. They putting the fathers in jail, making them a criminal. You can see their whole thing was to convert whatever we was doing and make us a Christian. Because you seen earlier it said they are not Christians. They don't have a Lord. They don't obey anybody. They're free. They don't punish criminals. They don't whoop their children. So the whole thing they wanted to do was make you a Christian so that you can obey somebody, so that you can have a king and a lord, so that you could not be free, so that you can whoop your kids when they're not obeying, so that you can have war with your brother and your sister, your mother, your family, and so you won't have any compassion. It says, and it is wonderful that we never saw them quarrel among them. We never saw them fighting each other. Now look, we fight each other. We want to go to war with each other in our own communities. We don't like each other. We don't like our family. We don't like our tribe. We don't like this. Well, this is not how we are, guys. We better than that. We all been bamboozled to be a Christian, like these criminals that we're reading about right now, because they were Christians. So it said they show themselves simple in their talks and are very sharp and cunning in securing their ends. They speak little and in a low voice. They use the same accent as ourselves. Who told you that? Forming their words either on the palate, the teeth. You see how detailed they trying to figure out who we are. They write every detail down. That's why you got to study your enemy, because the enemy has studied us. They know how to lie. They know how to manipulate the words. And remember, he who controls the history controls the people, the mind, the belief. It says, forming their words either on the palate, the teeth, or the lips, only they have other words for things. Meaning you didn't know what the hell they was saying. You was making up your own ideas. You was making up your own interpretation of things. You was comprehending it from a colonizer's mindset. So whatever they was writing what they saw. But when they talked about what these people was thinking, they was making it up because they didn't understand them. It was a language barrier, right? Great is the diversity of languages, for in 100 leagues we found such change in language that the inhabitants could not understand each other. Who told you that they couldn't understand each other? You see what I'm saying? How you gotta be like, what? Who told you that? Now you doing too much, Vespucci. It says their mode of life is very barbarous. They called it barbarous. How could you call something barbarous when they don't have any war? They at peace. They don't have nobody to obey. They free, but you call it barbarous. Right? They're free, but they called us barbarous. Let's look up the word barbarous. It says savagely cruel, exceedingly brutal. How? When we wasn't even fighting each other. This is why you got to know what words they're using to try. So when he went over there, he was trying to tell these people, hey, they're barbaric, so they could come over here and have a reason to seize us, have a reason to do their Christian war, bring their Christian warriors. Because, you know, the church had a military when they was going around seizing the land. So barbarous, savagely cruel, exceedingly brutal. After all of that they just saw, they called us very their mode of life is very barbarous or barbarous, however you want to say it. For they have no regular time for their meals. He thought that was barbarous, that we didn't have no regular time for our meals, so they thought. They just thinking what the hell they want. It said, but they eat anytime that they have the wish. You can eat anytime you wanted to. And they thought that was barbarous. Come on now. Come on now. It says, and they eat as often as the night and the day. Indeed, they eat all hours. We could eat whenever the hell we wanted to. It was no, sounds fabulous to me. Right!
Give me back that filet fish. Give me that fish. Give me back that filet fish. Give me that fish.
They got jealous of us, y'all. They got jealous. If you can't see where I'm going with this, when we reading about Vespucci and how they interpreting and they getting so jealous, like they like, damn, they got the best life ever. They don't have to be their Lord. They don't have to, we got a spiritual life. Of course, we got a creator, but they didn't understand it. But they write what they thought. Oh, they don't have to go around and steal land. They just here free chilling, going to the beach. They got they swimsuits on, but they was like, dang, why they so naked? Fool, we swimming, dummy. Why would we have on clothes and we at the beach with our people? You don't understand it. You just pull up on a boat talking about what they doing out there. They don't got on. Come on, guys. Come on, guys. Facts. Facts. Turtle Island. You gotta listen. This is just part 1, guys. This is just the intro. It's gonna get even worse when he talk about what kind of people we are. We going somewhere, right? Because I'm looking for him to say one thing about us, and it's gonna tell you who the hell we truly are, and it's gonna wake you up when you know how they describe the inhabitants. Because when I go to my genealogy, the census records, it calls us the inhabitants. When you go and do your genealogy, you gonna see your ancestors are the inhabitants. Words mean a lot, right? So yeah, we was eating anytime we wanted. They got jealous, like they was like, y'all just get to eat all the fruit whenever you want. Like,
what do you mean by that?
They was like, wait, what? They couldn't understand it. They didn't understand it. So it says, they take their food on the ground without napkin or any cloth, eating out of earthen pots which they make. You mean pottery? This is what you talking about? We eating out of plates? Because that's what an earthen plate seemed like to me. They said they're eating out of earthen pots which they make, or out of half calabashes. And they didn't understand, like, what is going on? Why they eating out of plate? Yet my pop said we are from Natchez. GG now. Wow. It says they sleep in certain very large nets made of cotton. Clock that tea. We already had cotton, baby. We was already making beds and pillows and sheets, and yes. They was like, what the hell they doing? They sleeping on a cotton? They had hammocks. This is what they talking about now. We had a hammock. They was so confused. Amerigo was like, what the hell is going on here? We discovered a new land. You remember how they said it was a new land? No, this is ancient people, guys. This is the hijack. Even when they came to real big, the main island, Turtle Island, you got to know it was ancient people here. And if we were to go in any of the journals from Florida to Virginia, you're going to see the same shit that I'm reading now. I always see the same. Even if we read Christopher Columbus, no matter which journal you read, you're going to see the same evidence that it was us here. Right? It says they sleep in certain very large nets made of cotton and suspended in the air. And if this should seem a bad way of sleeping, I said that it is pleasant to sleep in that manner, and that we slept better in that way than in coverlets. He was like, damn, they sleeping good? They was like, oh, hell no. They said, oh, hell no. They got jealous, y'all.
Oh, hell no, man. What the?
They was like, oh, hell no. Listen at this, guys. So this is how you know this is us. Who's the cleanest people on the earth, right? It says they are people of cleanly habits as regards their bodies and are constantly washing themselves. Not dirty. No. We wasn't dirty, boo. No, you'll see now why your ancestors were the inventors of the washing machines, the washcloths, the loofahs, the soap, cleaning up, the broom, the mop. Do we gotta go on? Your ancestors, the plates, we was doing pottery, creating bowls to eat out of. They was like, what's that, bro? We never seen it before. Anywho, let's carry on. It says when they empty the stomach, now they're talking about you using the bathroom. They was stalking these Indians. They was stalking our ancestors. And this is why they were able to come back with their big boats and more arms and unalive them, because the first voyage they would go and stalk. They would take some people with them. They would see what the hell they was finna come back and seize. Okay, and raid. It says when they empty the stomach, they do everything so as not to be seen, and in this, they are clean and decent. Yeah, that's why we made the toilet stool, bro. Is it starting to click? Is it starting to click? It says, but in making water, they are dirty and without shame. For while talking with us, they do such things without turning around and without any shame. I don't know what he's talking about, making water. I didn't get that part. Okay. It says, they do not practice matrimony among them, each man taking as many women as he like. This the part, I don't know if he was lying. I don't know. This part right here, I feel like, I don't know. Because I'm trying to figure out how he knew that. Like their relationship status. I don't know about that part. But he said they was taking wives. I don't know about this part. This is a part where I was like, I don't really know if this is true or false. It just was too evil for these people to be, Indians. And you saying they don't know any violence. This is the part where I feel like, I don't know. Talking about if they are angry with their husbands, they easily cause abortion with certain poisonous herbs and destroy the child. I don't know about that. This is the part where I don't really know if this is true. Because when we get down further, you're going to see why I don't think this part is true. Okay? It says, although they go naked, I felt in my whole life, peace, Rasta. It says, although they go naked, yet that which should be concealed is kept between the thighs so that it cannot be seen. Meaning they were naked, but you couldn't see their private parts. Yet no one cares, for the same impression is made on them at seeing anything indecent as is made on us at seeing a nose or mouth. Among them it is considered strange if a woman has wrinkles on the bosom from frequent parturition, or on the belly. All parts are invariably preserved after the parturition as they were before. They showed an excessive desire for our company. Who told you that? Why would they show? This is the type of thing where I read between the lines, like, it's like, bro, they show an excessive desire for you to come over there and unalive them and harass them. You get what I'm saying? Like, I don't know if he was telling the truth. I don't know. It's like they kind of forced themselves on us, and we already know that they did. So when he was talking, it was kind of like, come on, Vespucci, he was not really fucking with you like that, bro. You really lying. Sometimes you lying. Sometimes you telling the truth. This is a very key part right here, guys. He said, we did not find these people had any laws. Oh, it's finna get deep. He said these people didn't have any laws. So when they came over here, we didn't have no laws. We didn't have no Lord that they agreed on. They didn't understand us spiritually. They didn't understand shit about us. We didn't have no prisons. We wasn't fighting each other. We wasn't unaliving each other with the pew pew. We wasn't all hung out, drugged and drunk. We wasn't like against each other. None of that. He said, we find that these people did not have any laws. So what they came over and gave you? Laws. Turtle Island didn't have no laws like what. And then the thing is, they just making this up because this was a civilized place. We did have rules and, but it wasn't the type of laws where it's trying to oppress you and make you work as a slave on your own land. These are the laws that they brought. We had laws like with humanity, with nature, like you know what I mean? Normal laws that communities should have, not something where you coming over trying to seize land and unalive people. This is the laws they still got now. I seen the lady crying right now. She said Mississippi, they brought back the Jim Crow law. Listen, the whole government is a war department. Ever since they came, it was all about war, unaliving us. That's why, aka black people, aka Amerindians, aka Indians, aka the inhabitants, whatever you want to call us, the autochthonous people, They want to make the law always for us because we was happy. We didn't have any oppression. We didn't have nobody over us. We was chilling, fishing at the beach. You can go swimming anytime, eat all damn day. You see what I'm saying? They got jealous. Now, this is a very important paragraph. It says, we did not find these people had any laws. They cannot be called Moors nor Jews, but were worse than Gentiles. Who told you that? Dang, my phone died. My phone died, TikTok. I gotta charge it up, TikTok. Who told you that? Right? Who told y'all that? Now it says, for we did not see they offer any sacrifices, nor they have any place of worship. I judge their lives to be Epicurean. The inhabitants, their habitations are in common. He said their lives were Epicurean. Now this is very important. What does this word mean? And we're going to go to part 2 for this, and this is where I'm going to start tomorrow. Page 67, since my TikTok died on everybody. But we're going to leave off for the people who still here with the word Epicurean, so you can know what this word means. Epicurean. So Epicureans, he was just saying these people have Epicurean type of lifestyle, right? So Epicurean is like, it comes from ancient Greek, but they were using their own lens, so they were just using words that they knew, right? But they were describing these inhabitants as Epicurean. And if we go back and we look at what Epicurean mean and what they thought it to mean, it was founded by ancient Greek philosopher Epicurus in 341 to 270 BCE. And what it says is, it emphasizes the highest good is pleasure, but not in the sense of indulgence or excess. True pleasure, according to Epicurus, is the absence of pain. So they were saying we didn't have any pain. And it says also the absence of mental disturbance, attacks, ataraxia. So we didn't have any pain. He was like, they were Epicurean. They didn't have any mental disturbance, which led to a calm, contented life, right? It says this philosophy encourages understanding the natural world to reduce fear, particularly fear of death and divine intervention, which contributes to inner peace. So these people were Epicurean-like. It says principles of an Epicurean life. And obviously these settlers, these invaders, didn't like that we had an Epicurean life. Meaning we weren't Epicurean. We didn't know what the hell he was talking about, but that's how he described what he was visually seeing. Epicureans advocate for a life free from unnecessary desires. Simple pleasures such as enjoying modest food, meaningful conversations in nature, considered more sustainable and fulfilling than luxury and extravagance. So we wasn't into luxury, extravagance. We were just enjoying nature, enjoying food, eating off the land, loving on the tribe, right? It says mental tranquility. The focus is on achieving ataraxia, a state of freedom from anxiety and worry. There was no anxiety. They didn't see us worrying around and going to work and laboring, right? It says friendship and community relationships are central to happiness. Epicurus taught that friendship provides emotional support, companionship, and shared joy, forming the garden of one's life. Avoidance of pain. He was saying that they weren't like us. They don't have any pain. Epicureans believe by minimizing pain and fear one naturally attains pleasure. knowledge and reflection. Understanding the workings of the world and human nature helps reduce irrational fears and guides one towards wise choices that enhance well-being. Okay? So we're going to end part 1 right there. You know, we talked about a lot tonight. And maybe if my phone didn't die on my TikTok tribe, I would be still going, but I feel like we kind of got a good part 1 out the way. Tomorrow we're going to start right where we are now. I'll probably review where we started with the pages that I actually know and maybe go faster. But this is where we're going to stop. They thought we was Epicurean. The habitations are in common. Their dwellings are like huts, but strong, built of a very large tree, covered with palm leaves, secure from tempest winds. It says, in some places they are such length and width that we found 600 souls in one house. We found villages of only 13 houses where there were 4,000 inhabitants. Right? So there you have it. Words of Amerigo Vespucci, and we will continue this journey tomorrow. But this is part 1. This is just letting you guys know that oral history is important. I'm enjoying different creators just coming on and sharing the knowledge. We have to each one teach one, work together so that we can unlock the code, continue to not be enslaved, because you remember, knowledge makes you unfit to be a slave. So tomorrow I will probably put this together in a better fashion, more teachable, where you can see the picture of Amerigo Vespucci, the land masses, and what else about Amerigo Vespucci. I want to also show, thank you, oh, you found me, Tea Time Beauty. Yeah, my phone died. Yeah, see you guys tomorrow. So we're going to go into it a little deeper and, yeah, keep breaking it down. So this has been another little great study session for the Hood to Hood podcast. I will see you guys tomorrow. This is Dr. Chieftain Sunflower. Yeah, we was finna go deep, but I don't want to keep going because it can get too long. So we'll stop here. Thank you for all the hearts, Tea Time Beauty. I really appreciate it. And I hope y'all have a wonderful night.
Oh, I need you back.
I enjoy staying tuned. Good evening. Hey. I enjoy when you come in the room and, you know, participate. Enjoying like our little community that we're building. It's so exciting. That's why I have to show up, y'all, because today I was really exhausted. I was tired, I was fatigued, and I was like, no, I gotta get up, I gotta go live, you know. So I'll be back tomorrow because I'm on a mission, okay. I'll see y'all tomorrow. Turtle island moves when we making a play. They don't feel pain till it's them. They don't cry tears till it's them. But when it was us for all those years, they was eating off us, feeding off us cheers. Building empires off stolen breath. Smiling while we starve to death. But the truth don't drown and come back fast. That's why the past keep hunting their ass. They need you back. You know we out there. Not blend, not been here millions, yeah, billions old. Before your borders, papers, lies got told. Before the ships, before the chains, before they put false names on pain.
We the land of bone, the seed. You can't copyright blood or creed. They try to rename us box and sin, erase the truth and profit then. But memory live in the soil deep. Every mouth still got secrets to keep. So when we rise, it's ancestral math. Every step forward, undo the past. We ain't asking, we taking it back. Say it with me, I need you bad. Need you bad, need you bad, need you bad. Oh, yeah. I need you bad. Yeah, yeah. Who still stand? Still stand. Who's left? Say it again. Who been here? Been here. Who still stand? Still stand. Who's left? Yeah, yeah. I need you back. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You know we yeah. I need you back. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You know we all blessed. The pyramid standing tall, yeah, crack. Turtle island strong, yeah, fat. From the soil to the stars, we back. I need you back. Get it going, get it poppin'. Need you ain't stopping. Truth keep knocking. Say it clear, say it raw, say it flat. Yeah, yeah. Cause the need you is back, bitch.